Hey everybody, it's Kyle. Hey, today my message is specifically for dads. And I want to start by asking you a question, dads, if you have a daughter specifically. And I want to ask you this. How do you want the men in her life to treat her? Your daughter's going to grow up. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I know she's going to grow up. And I have some pretty good ideas of how I want my daughter to be treated by men as she grows up and when she gets married and those kind of things. And so I want to ask you that question because I was reminded of something last night. I have this habit when we put our kids in bed, I like to hug them all. And last night, my 8-year-old daughter, Chloe, was a little upset with me because I had made her come inside before she really wanted to get ready for bed and get in bed. And so I said, Chloe, give me a hug. And she said, I already gave you a hug. And I said, you little rat, you better. And so I started to move towards her and she took off running. And I know she was mad at me, but she wasn't getting away with this. And I chased her around a little bit. And the truth is she's faster than I am. So I couldn't catch her, but her mom, my wife, said, Chloe, you better go give your dad a hug. And so she did, and I gave her a big hug and squeezed her real tight, and I told her I was sorry she had to come in, but we have to get in bed sometimes, and I love her and all that kind of stuff. And we ended up grinning at each other, and then she hopped in bed. And a few minutes later, I went downstairs and was talking to my wife, and I thought, I'm going to go give Chloe another hug because she ran from me. So I ran back upstairs and opened her door, and she was still awake, and she said, what? And so I ran over there and gave her another big hug, and because it made me feel good. And because she ran, I didn't like that. And then I came downstairs, and my wife saw what happened. She knew what I was up to. And she said to me something that I thought was pretty powerful, and I'd never really thought about much before. And she said, Chloe is going to learn how men should treat women by the way you treat me. That's going to be the expectation she has when she grows up, is how she should be treated. And my wife said, I'm really happy that you treat me the way you do, because she's getting the kind of example she needs, and she's going to demand from men the kind of treatment that you give me, because that's the expectation. And you know, I think we all try hard as men to treat our women right. Sometimes we don't always do that. And so I want to put that little seed of thought in your brain, because it made me start to think a little bit more about how I treat my wife. If my daughter is watching how I treat my wife, if she's watching how I love my wife, how I talk to her, how I work with her, that's the expectation that she's going to have. And if I'm not kind, or I say things that I shouldn't, or I'm dismissive, or a lot of the things that I think sometimes we can fall into traps with our spouses, where we get so used to them that we don't necessarily treat them as special as they need to be treated. And so I want to challenge you men who have daughters to review the way you treat your wife and ask yourself, would you want some other idiot man? I wasn't going to curse. I was going to say freaking idiot man, because that's what other men are when it comes to my daughter. But would you want another man treating your daughter the way you treat your wife? Would you stand for that? And in a lot of cases, I think we fall short. But they're watching. And my wife brought it to my attention squarely last night that they're going to watch how you treat your wife. And that is going to be how they expect to be treated. And if you're doing things you shouldn't, if you're saying things you shouldn't, they're they're probably going to have that expectation, and they're not going to demand what they deserve from the men in their life. So, men, today's the day to do a review of the way you treat your wife. You know, when you first start dating your wife or your girlfriend, you treat them differently than you do after a while. But if you can continue to treat them the way you do when you're courting them, in a lot of cases, things can stay pretty dang good. I've been married 25 years. I love my wife today more than I loved her when we got married. And I'm grateful for that. I know I've got a special woman. But I would imagine you might have a special woman on your hands too, if you treat her the way you want your daughter to be treated. Serve your wife. Look for ways to make her happy. Work hard to make them happy. Don't talk to them with kindness and sweetness. I don't care how they act. Do that and watch what happens. And I can promise you, if you'll treat them the way they deserve to be treated, you'll be rewarded as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Do it, dads. Don't mess around. Have a great day. Bye-bye.